In the previous lesson, we used a 7-step intelligence lifecycle: requirements, planning, collection, processing, analysis, delivery, and feedback. Now we take one step further. If you read different books, agency materials, or military documents, you will notice that the intelligence cycle is not always drawn the same way. Some versions use 5 stages. Some use 7. Some military-style models put much more weight on task support, coordination, and feedback. That does not mean one version is automatically right and the others are wrong. It usually means the organization has a different mission and therefore splits the workflow differently. In this lesson, the goal is not to memorize a correct diagram. The goal is to know which version fits your OSINT task. The intelligence cycle is not a mathematical formula. It is a work method. Different tasks create different pressure. If you only need to verify a news screenshot, you probably do not need a heavy project management model. You need a clear order: find the original, check the time, inspect the image history, look for a second source, and write a bounded conclusion. But if you are monitoring supply chain risk over several months, the work is different. New filings may appear. Lawsuits may change status. Hiring patterns may shift. A judgment that was reasonable last week may need to be revised this week. That is why models differ. They emphasize different parts of the work. So instead of asking, which model is the most official, we ask, what does this model help me control? A common mistake is memorizing the cycle as a slogan. Someone may be able to repeat planning, collection, processing, analysis, dissemination, but if you ask what each stage should leave behind, the answer becomes vague. Another mistake is treating the cycle as a straight line. You deliver a report, close the file, and never ask whether the reader's question was answered. That removes one of the most important parts of intelligence work: feedback. There is also confusion when learners see different versions. They may think the versions contradict each other. Most of the time, they do not. They simply split the work at different levels of detail. And one more practical warning: do not force a heavy model onto a tiny task. If you are verifying one screenshot, a massive workflow may slow you down instead of improving the result. Let's start with the 5-stage model. A common version is planning, collection, processing, analysis, and dissemination. Its strength is simplicity. It helps beginners understand a basic rule: do not jump from search results straight to conclusions. For a small OSINT task, this works well. Think about checking a news screenshot. Planning means deciding what you need to verify. Collection means gathering the original post, image history, timestamps, and second sources. Processing means recording links and times. Analysis means asking what the evidence supports. Dissemination means writing the conclusion. The weakness is that requirements and feedback are not always made explicit. For quick tasks, that may be fine. For long-term projects, it becomes risky. So the 5-stage model is not inferior. It is lighter. The 7-stage model is the one we used in the previous lesson: requirements, planning, collection, processing, analysis, delivery, and feedback. The important difference is that requirements and feedback are separated out. That matters in real OSINT work. Suppose you are checking whether a company is safe to work with. If you do not define the requirement first, you may collect everything: registry data, news, lawsuits, hiring, social posts, and still not know whether you are answering cooperation risk, reputation risk, ownership risk, or delivery risk. The 7-stage model forces the work to start with a clear question and end with review. It is especially useful for training, project management, and ongoing investigations, such as supply chain monitoring, sentiment tracking, and deep company verification. Put simply, the 5-stage model helps you stop random searching. The 7-stage model helps you manage a complete project. Now let's look at a task support style of thinking, using JP2-01 as a reference point. For our course, we do not need to copy a military intelligence system. But there is one idea worth borrowing: intelligence should support a mission. In other words, the requirement comes from a task. Collection and analysis should support action. Delivery is not just a report, it should help someone decide or coordinate. This is useful in fast-moving OSINT situations: disaster verification, crisis tracking, conflict area monitoring, or large public event monitoring. In those cases, the work may involve several people. One person collects sources, another checks locations, another builds a timeline, and another writes the briefing. Feedback has to move quickly because the situation changes quickly. That is the lesson we borrow from task support models. Now put the three models side by side. The 5-stage model is simple. It fits small tasks, quick checks, and beginner training. Its risk is weak feedback. The 7-stage model is fuller. It fits project management, ongoing investigation, and training good habits. Its risk is that it can feel heavy if the task is tiny. The task support model emphasizes coordination and action support. It fits crisis work, team projects, and monitoring tasks. Its risk is higher coordination cost. So do not choose based on which name sounds more advanced. Choose based on control points. If the risk is random searching, use the 5-stage model. If the risk is missing requirements or feedback, use the 7-stage model. If the risk is team confusion, use a task support approach. In OSINT, the choice can be very practical. A screenshot check can use a light workflow. You plan the checks, collect the material, process links and times, analyze support and counter evidence, then deliver a short citation judgment. A company risk check should usually use the 7-stage model. You need a clear requirement, multiple sources, a timeline, evidence notes, a risk judgment, and room for follow-up questions. Continuous event monitoring needs a stronger feedback loop. New information may change the question, the confidence level, or the next collection plan. Team projects need coordination. If several people are collecting and analyzing at the same time, you need to decide who owns which stage, or the work will quickly become duplicated and inconsistent. A simple rule helps. The more complex the task, the more important feedback becomes. The more people involved, the more important coordination becomes. Let's test this with a small task. Someone sends you a news screenshot and asks, "Can this be cited?" The 5-stage model is enough. Planning. Decide the check order. Find the original, check publication time, inspect image history, and search for a second source. Collection. Save the original page, the image search results, platform pages, and any relevant second source. Processing. Record links, timestamps, screenshot IDs, and short notes. Analysis. Check whether the evidence supports the claim, whether there is old image reuse, and whether the timeline conflicts. Dissemination. Write a short conclusion. For example, the original report and a second source currently align, and no obvious old image reuse was found. It can be used as a preliminary lead, but local confirmation is still needed. Short does not mean careless. The result is short because the task is small, not because the checks were skipped. Now take a more complex task, judging whether a company is suitable as a cooperation partner. Here, the 7-stage model is a better fit. Start with the requirement. Are we checking cooperation risk, ownership risk, reputation risk, or delivery risk? Then plan sources, corporate records, announcements, lawsuits, hiring changes, news, and customer-side clues if available. Collection brings the material in. Processing records the source, time, evidence type, and builds a timeline. Analysis asks whether risk signals cluster around a specific period, business line, contract type, or leadership change. Delivery should include judgment, evidence, confidence, limits, and recommended follow-up checks. Feedback matters because the reader may ask, are these lawsuits serious? Do they affect our contract? Is there counter-evidence? That is why a company risk check should not end after the first report. The output for this lesson is simple. Choose a cycle version for your own project and explain why. Make a small table. First, write the project name. For example, a company risk check, a news screenshot check, or a public event monitoring task. Second, write the task type, quick check, deep check, long-term monitoring, or team project. Third, choose the model, 5-stage, 7-stage, or task support. Fourth, write the reason. Fifth, write checkpoints. What should each stage leave behind? A source list, a timeline, evidence cards, a report, a feedback note. Do not just write, I choose the 7-stage model. That is too thin. Write why the task needs that model. For example, I choose the 7-stage model because this project uses multiple sources, requires a timeline, and the reader may ask for follow-up evidence. That kind of answer shows real understanding. The main takeaway is not the names of 3 models. It is the judgment habit behind them. Different intelligence cycle versions exist because tasks, organizations, and delivery pressure differ. The 5-stage model fits quick and small tasks. The 7-stage model fits full projects and ongoing review. Task support models fit collaboration and action-oriented situations. In OSINT, the model is only the skeleton. What matters is whether each step leaves behind a checkable output, and whether the final result can be revised when feedback arrives. In the next lesson, we move into the history of intelligence organizations. We are not studying mystery stories. We are looking at why intelligence grew from scattered information into a professional system.